Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our ordinary council meeting for today, October 28, 2024, here at the Kalgoorlie Town Hall, opening the meeting at 7 p.m. And on behalf of the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land in which we meet this evening, and I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. May I please have you stand and remove your hats if you've got a hat on? No one? That's okay. As Pastor Joel Tardo from the Goldfields Alliance joins us for prayer this evening.
Let's pray. Our gracious Lord, we acknowledge your holy presence in this gathering tonight. We thank you for the strength that enabled us to be here. We recognize that you are the source of all goodness that we experience in life. Help us not to take for granted all the blessings and the benefits that we do enjoy being part of this wonderful community, the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder. As distrusted and hardworking public servants, whom we have elected to their office, gathers here tonight to discuss issues that matters to our community life. May you grant them divine wisdom and discernment so that any decisions that they may come up with will be good and fair, benefiting the people of our city. For that, I commit the rest of this evening into their loving care. This I pray in the name of the Father, and of the Son, Jesus Christ, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Yeah.
I'll now read the disclaimer for this evening's meeting. First of all, please note that this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on the Council's website in accordance with the City's public participation in Council meeting policy, which can be viewed on Council's website. All reasonable care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the gallery this evening, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the public gallery, it is assumed your consent is given if your image is broadcast. The recommendations contained in the agenda are officers' recommendations only and should not be acted upon until Council has resolved to adopt those recommendations. The resolutions of Council should be confirmed by perusing the minutes of the Council meeting at which these recommendations were considered. Members of the public should also note that they act at their own risk if they enact any resolution prior to receiving official written notification of Council's decision. The purpose this evening is for our ordinary Council meeting for the 28th of October 2024. A record of attendance alongside myself this evening, we have the Deputy Mayor. Good evening to you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Deb Bodica, good evening to you. Councillor Terence Winner, good evening. Hello, Councillor Johnson. Hello. Greetings, Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Brownlee, hello to you. And also Councillor Viskovich, good evening to you. We do have Councillor Turner who is with us via phone. May I have a motion to accept Councillor Turner via phone this evening? Moved by Councillor Brownlee, seconded by Councillor Johnson. No dissent, councillors. Carried unopposed. Good evening to you, Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, just to confirm that you are there and weren't a figment of my imagination. Members of staff with us this evening, our CEO Andrew Bryan, our Director of Community Development Mia Hicks, Acting Director of Engineering. Good evening to you tonight, Johans. Good to have you here. Our Acting Director of Development and Growth, Elaine, hello. Also our Acting Director of Corporate and Commercial, Francis, is with us tonight as well. Stood in for you well last week, Mr. CEO. Executive Manager of Finance, Sandra, is with us this evening. Good evening to you, Sandra. Governance Officer Jamie is here tonight alongside Matthew, who is our ICT Risk and Compliance Officer, and Pia, who's with us from our marketing team. Councillors, we have no elected member apologies as we're all present tonight. Director of Engineering, Louis Camporelli, is not with us, and Director of Development and Growth, Alex Weiss, also both staff apologies with no leave of absence. Response to previous public questions taken on notice, there is nil. This evening we have public question time, no public access. Our first public question time tonight comes from Carissa Zappelli. Carissa, if you'd like to make your way to the microphone, please. Thank you. And state your name and your address first for us.
Carissa Zappelli. Oh, that's loud. 10 Egan Street, Kalgoorlie.
Thank you. You have 3 questions that you've got for this evening. Your first one, go ahead, please.
I'm asking on behalf of some Goldfields people from the emails that have been sent to every councillor here about the motion that was put forward from Port Hedland, Council Mayor Camilo Blanco on the 11th of October this year to abolish the COVID-19 vaccinations Australia-wide. He sent them around about the 22nd of October. Has anyone here read the emails and have you thought about what needs to be done?
Ms Zappelli, I can answer that as the person presiding. Yes, I've received that email, and no, I don't believe there was any action from them. Would any other councillors like to comment? It's up to you, councillors. No, councillors? No other comments? No? Thank you. Question 2.
I've got lots of evidence and documents attached in my folder. I've also sent them through to Jamie as well on what actually needs to be happening. Port Hedland Council has motioned these documents to be taken up with the state government to cease and end all COVID-19 vaccinations locally, and as there are other countries around the world that have already done so. I'm requesting this to happen tonight to get the ball rolling here in Australia and that all COVID vaccines be ceased. Will you be accountable, and can you see this needs to end now? Will you help the community of Kalgoorlie-Boulder?
Your first question again, what was that? Part of that?
Just that one there. I'm requesting tonight for this motion to go forward. We can follow it up next month, but I'd really like it to happen tonight or the next couple of days or a week.
Sure.
I don't think we've got time.
The answer to that question is no, won't be considered tonight.
What was that last bit?
It won't be considered tonight.
Tonight? Okay. Yep, so we've got to go forward and have a special meeting.
Well, look, you can go forward in your process, that's fine.
Well, that's what needs to happen if no one's going to acknowledge what I'm putting forward to tonight.
And are you aware how a special meeting needs to be called?
Yep.
How's
We've
that?
done it before.
Yep, how's that?
Well, I've got to obviously put the paperwork in.
So under that, you need a third of the councillors or you need the mayor to call for that meeting, or the CEO, just to let you know.
Right.
The meeting that you attended previously was our annual electors meeting, which happens annually.
Right. So it's different like wording and stuff. Yeah. Okay, so this has no bearing on us locally. I spoke to quite a few of you today. One person in particular said it has nothing to do with the local level of councillors here, whether we cease it or not, or put the motion through to the state government. This is a state problem.
Correct.
Right, thank you. So can we locally motion what Port Hedland has done to say, we agree with what you're doing, we need to put pressure on the local state government to end these very soon?
Your answer is no. We won't be considering that.
So you as a mayor, what about everyone else? What if they motion it?
If the councillors bring it, that's fine. My opinion, you asked me, is no, I won't be considering it.
Well, I actually asked all the councillors.
Right. And as the presiding member, you deal with me. And if you wish to speak to any of the councillors, you've already done that today. You feel free to call them tomorrow.
Right. Nothing else? You don't want to...
That's it. As
You
you alluded,
no.
as you alluded,
You don't realise what's actually happening.
Thank you, Ms. Sapelli, for your questions tonight. We also have questions tonight to Council from Mr. Mick McKay of Boulder. I have sent repeated requests for Council to remove the bins from against my property at 248 Hannon Street, as they are fire hazards, in waiting of which has already occurred inside St Barbara Square. I also need clearance in order to replace guttering and repair signage. My question is, will you remove them permanently from against my property, and if not, do you accept responsibility for liability in the event of damage caused by fire from these receptacles to my property? The answer is no. Question 2. On the 3rd of September, you informed me to expect to be contacted by the Director of Engineering to discuss the removal of the seat outside Shop 1, 248 Hannon Street. When do you think I could expect him to contact me, as I have not heard? I did mention that verbally to the Director of Engineering, and I will follow that up further with the Acting Director of Engineering. There are no other questions this evening. Item 7, petitions, deputations or presentations. Mr. CEO, there are none. Correct. Item 8.1, interest affecting impartiality for tonight's meeting. Councillors, I have not received any interest in impartiality. Are there any impartialities? No. Councillors, I've received one financial interest for tonight. Are there any further? That financial interest comes from the CEO from item 1411, the CEO KPI review on page 11 of the financials as it relates to the CEO's employment. Very handy financial interest to put in, Mr. CEO. No proximities tonight, councillors? No, thank you. Applications for leave of absence. I have received one in the last week from Councillor O'Donnell from the 13th of the 11th to the 20th of the 11th as he is visiting his daughter in Sydney. Noting any other further councillors that wish to take leave during that time may not be granted as we will lose quorum for meetings as we already have several councillors who are taking leave during that time. Do I have a mover for Councillor O'Donnell to take leave? Councillor Winner. Seconded, Councillor Johnson. No discussion, councillors? Enjoy your leave with your daughter, Councillor O'Donnell. Item 9.2, procedural motion to suspend section 9.1 of the Standing Orders Local Law 2013. Councillors, do I have a mover to allow us to sit this evening? Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Seconded, Councillor Deputy Mayor. No discussion, councillors? Happy to sit and continue. Lovely, carried 9-0. Announcements by the person presiding without discussion, councillors. Just before I get to the announcements, I do have a little something to pass to each of you this evening. Mr. CEO, I don't know if I can stand up and leave my position, but I'm going to. I'd like to recognise your service to the city, in particular from the last 12 months. So I have certificates this evening for Councillor Bodica for her 29 years of service, Councillor Johnson for his 13 years of service, Councillor Winner for your 5 years of service, Councillor Winner, Councillor O'Donnell for your 5 years of service, Councillor Brownlee for your 5 years of service, Councillor Turner for your 5 years of service, Councillor Viskovich for your 1 year of service, and also to the Deputy Mayor as well for your 3 years of service. As elected members to the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, you will all receive a nice little token this evening. If you'd like to pass them around, that would be good. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Then I don't leave my position, Mr. CEO. Hadn't checked that one in the standing orders. Councillors, the mayoral announcements were all presented to you. Any discussion on those? No discussion. Very busy couple of weeks. As noted, 3 pages of appointments and also meetings. Item 11, the confirmation of minutes from the previous ordinary council meeting. Do I have a mover for that? Thank you, Councillor Bodica. Seconded, Councillor Winner. Any discussion on the minutes previously, councillors? No. Councillor Bodica. Councillor Winner. No discussion. Carried 9-0. Motions of which previous notice has been given, there are nil tonight. No urgent business this evening. Oh, sorry, there is one urgent business item. I apologise. That is the late item to be considered. Councillors, it was sent through to you across the course of Friday, and then I think some of you may have downloaded it today, or it downloaded for you. And that is 13.1, the Wolga Advocacy Local Government Elections. It is a late item and is being considered as an urgent matter, as Wolga are seeking their feedback by the end of the month, noting that today is the 28th of October. Councillors, do I have a mover for the officer recommendation that has been presented to you? Moved by Councillor Viskovich, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Any discussion, Councillor Viskovich? No. Deputy Mayor, no discussion. Councillors, and any other further discussions? Question for, speaking for or against? Point of clarification. I'll consider your question, Councillor.
We will be discussing it at a workshop, will we all?
Negative. No,
no,
it's a late item. Now is your only discussion.
All right. Question?
Another one? I'll consider it.
Not a clarification question. It's got on there where the officer says it's preferred to do preference voting. I was just curious where who decided, Walga has said that, but the officer's recommendation is to accept that.
Thank you. I'll ask the CEO for that further clarification. Mr. CEO?
Yeah, thank you. Through the Mayor. The issue around preferential voting has been one that's been kicked around for a long time. The state aren't going to change it. They've made that quite clear previously. And there was a position of, do we argue the point or do we just accept that one? That was the only reason. So it's a position they've made very clear that that's going to stay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other further questions? No? No dissent, councillors? Sorry, no further speaking for or speaking against. No further debate. This is what I was after. Councillors, I'll put the vote on this particular item, as it is a late item, in the interests of transparency. For those in favour of the recommendation, please raise your hand. Councillor Turner, are you in favour?
Yes.
Thank you. Carried 9-0. Item 14.11 is the CEO KPI review. Mr. CEO, you've declared a financial interest. Thank you for leaving the room. Councillors, we have a recommendation on 14.11. Do I have a mover for that particular recommendation? Moved, Councillor Viskovich. Seconder, Councillor Winner. Councillor Viskovich, you wish to speak? No. Councillor Winner, wish to speak? No. Any further discussion, councillors? No. No dissent? Carried 9-0. May we have the CEO back, please? Councillors, for reports of officers, before we get into that, we do have an en bloc for this evening. The items for the en bloc are 15.11, which is the Statement of Financial Activity, 15.13, which is the Accounts Payable Report, 15.23, which is the signage application for Lot 9003, 9004 and 9005 Hart Kerspian Drive in Broadwood, 15.25, which is the Local Heritage Fund for 24 Brookman Street, and 15.26, the Local Heritage Fund for 50 Collins Street. So that's 15.11, 15.13, 15.23, 15.25, 15.26. That sounds fine. Thank you. Mover of that is Councillor O'Donnell. Seconder of that is Councillor Brownlee. With no discussion, councillors accepting that one? Yes. Carried 9-0. 15.12 requires an absolute majority, and that is the Loop Line Residence refurbishment. We have an officer recommendation. Councillors, do we have a move of that recommendation? Move the Deputy Mayor. Seconder, Councillor O'Donnell. Deputy Mayor, you wish to speak? Just wait for your microphone to warm up. Do you wish to use mine? Here's one we prepared earlier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to IT. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the work by city officers with bringing this report to council, and acknowledge their, I suppose, identifying of this unique opportunity with such a shortage of housing within Kalgoorlie-Boulder. I think it's important that we look into all areas where we can, I suppose, help close the gap where we can. So I'd like to commend officers for bringing this to council.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to speak? No? Any further councillors wish to speak on that matter? No worries. With no dissent and no one else declaring any discussion, carried 9-0. 15.14, spectator fees at the Goldfields Oasis. We have an officer recommendation. We have two councillors down to speak for this. Sorry, I've just got one down to speak for this one. Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to move? Yes, thank you. Moved, Councillor O'Donnell. Seconder, Councillor Winner. Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just quickly, I've utilised this service as a spectator with my grandchildren, and I thought I was only going for an hour, but I was there 3 hours. They were having so much fun, so not impressed. But I think whoever suggested this idea to bring it forward, I commend. I think it's a very good idea, and it's especially for those that are struggling. Their kids can go and get into the pool for free at a certain age, but it's good the parents can sit there, or grandparents can sit there in the cool as well and supervise, also interact with others. And so it's a very good idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll also speak briefly on this and commend Councillor O'Donnell for moving this motion. While I note that this was brought about by the state government's announcement regarding back care swimming lessons, I think it's a fantastic review that the City Office has undertaken, and it's something I would be very keen to see carry on into the future. The more people we can encourage to utilise our facilities, the better it is, and it's activating more and more spaces. I think it's fantastic seeing families come through and watching their kids, and it does assist our lifesavers in particular by ensuring that there's more parents sticking around to look after little ones in the pool and reduce those risks as well. So again, I hope councillors also support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? Before the mover has the right of reply, as Councillor Winner has alluded to, this is a matter which obviously applies mainly to the VaxSwim program, which is being put on through the state government, but I dare say under our cost of living crisis that we do have at the moment affecting many families, it will be a welcome relief of the small charge that they are able to save. Mover has the right of reply? No, not taken. Councillors, no dissent has been indicated to this. Is that correct? Yes, carried 9-0. Item 15.15, after 15.14 has been carried, both requiring an absolute, is the 2024-2025 Schedule of Fees and Charges Amendments. Do I have a mover for the amendments? Moved, Councillor Winner. Seconder, Councillor Brownlee. Councillor Winner, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Given we've just passed the last motion, the last item, sorry, with the motion that was attached to it, this is allowing the schedule of fees and changes to be amended to incorporate those changes, as well as make some minor changes that were picked up along the way as well. So I do encourage councillors to approve this motion and this item as part of a procedural process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Councillor Brownlee, you wish to speak? No. Any further councillors wish to speak on the matter? No. No dissent. Carried 9-0. Item 15.21, alfresco dining policy. Councillor Winner, you indicated an interest in this one, so too Councillor O'Donnell. Mover of the officer recommendation. Councillor O'Donnell, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Winner. Go ahead, Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Again, I'll be very short. I think this is a very good policy going forward. I look forward to reading in that. But it's expected by tourists around the world. Doesn't matter where you go nowadays, alfresco dining is everywhere. And but I think if we do it right, and especially we take into people with special needs, disabilities, I do hope that the policy includes where wheelchair access up and down the footpath is not impeded. That's just one area. But I look forward to reading the policy and going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to echo a lot of the comments raised by Councillor O'Donnell. The policy as presented through the attachment for this item is a wonderful opportunity for our city to really look at ways to activate our spaces and encourage outdoor dining. A lot of cities have this, and it's well utilised. It's something that many shop owners have requested, and members of the public have requested as well for a number of years now. To have this policy in place will ensure that there is some structure around the process of how it's considered and how it is adopted within our community, and there's a clear process for applicants to be able to come to the city to request that. So I do encourage councillors to please support this. I think it's important to us that we do have this governance framework behind us to ensure that things are done right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to again thank everyone who was involved in having this organised. I just wanted to, I suppose, clarify the questions that I've had is that there is no smoking permitted in the alfresco areas and that it is just for a dining space. So I think it's a great idea and I can't wait to see it happen.
Great, thank you. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? Before the mover has the right of reply, note that there is still a 21-day period and we will still see a further report presented to Council at the completion of the advertised period for our consideration, but a step in the right direction nonetheless. The mover has the right of reply. Councillor O'Donnell? No. No dissent indicated, councillors, from this particular item. Thank you. I'll have that carried unopposed. 9-0. 15.2.2, change of use to operate holiday accommodation at lot 464, number 8 of 9 Brookman Street, Kalgoorlie. Deputy Mayor has a question. I'll need a mover first of all for the item. Moved Councillor O'Donnell, seconded Councillor Viskovich. Councillor O'Donnell wish to speak? No. Councillor Viskovich? No. Thank you. Councillor O'Donnell, I'll just note that. Deputy Mayor, you have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through to the Acting Director of Development and Growth regarding the change for this to proceed to holiday rental. Is there still the opportunity for the strata company to impose restrictions on this particular property?
We'll get that question answered for the record as well. Thank you. Acting Director Elaine.
Through the Chair, thank you, Ms Deputy Chair. There is an opportunity under the strata legislation that could affect the town planning approval. But with this application, they did get a letter of support from the strata body.
Thank you. No further questions? No? Thank you. Good delegation of that, Deputy Mayor. Well done. Straight through to the keeper. Speaker against? Speaker for? Mover has the right of reply. No. No dissent indicated from that, councillors? No. Unopposed. Carried 9-0. 15.2.3 was part of the en bloc. 15.2.4, 127 Burt Street Local Heritage Fund. Do I have a mover for this recommendation? Moved Councillor O'Donnell. Seconder? Councillor Brownlee. Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to speak?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'm glad we have a local heritage fund policy to help those that own heritage listed properties, but it is disappointing in this when they come here that we allow 5,000 for this type of building, it's worded, but then goes on to say the policy does not allow any discretion in the approval amounts over $5,000. So hopefully going forward, we might be able to just look and at the potential to revisit to include discretion and or just vary the wording in our policy going forward. Thank you.
Still speaking for it though, Councillor O'Donnell.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Brownlee, seconder. Wish to speak? No. Speaker against? Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight I have elected not to support this motion as I have several concerns over what is being proposed. Given what was asked versus what is being proposed is significantly different, and I feel the best course of action would be to not support this motion and allow the applicant to reconsider and work with city officers to resubmit. I feel the Palace Theatre is such an important part of our community's history that we need to ensure the best possible outcome can be reached on this item and would rather see the Palace's committee and city officers work together on a stronger outcome. By not approving this application, allowing it to come back at another point would be the best possible outcome in my opinion, and I encourage my fellow councillors to consider this as well. Thank you.
Councillor Winner, are you foreshadowing a motion?
If needed, I definitely will. Do I need to say that now or...?
If you are foreshadowing a motion, it'd be good to put forward now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to foreshadow the motion that this item is left on the table and brought back to a councillor concept workshop for further discussion and direction of staff.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. We have a foreshadowed motion. However, we have the original motion to deal with first of all. So Speaker against, Speaker for, Speaker against, Councillor Bodica.
Thank you. I support Councillor Winner's motion because, the Palace Rollers has got a beautiful Art Deco facade that we really need to keep and maintain. And I don't think that it's a good idea for us to jump into this too quickly. They're asking for, a higher amount than what we're prepared to give them. So I think that it's probably better to leave it lying on the table and have more discussion about it and see in which way we can support that group to maintain that heritage building.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Councillor Bodica. Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? The mover has the right of reply. Not taken. As we have a foreshadowed motion, we'll place a vote for this particular item. Those in favour of the officer recommendation, moved by Councillor O'Donnell, seconded by Councillor Brownlee. Those in favour, please raise your hand. Councillor Turner?
I'll vote for the motion.
Thank you. Those against? Lost 2-7. Councillor Winner, you have a foreshadowed motion.
I do.
Can we get that foreshadowed motion, please, in some... Have we got a copy of it? Ish. Ish is the new word, isn't it? That's what they say on TikTok. I think, Councillor Winner, for ease of complexities, the foreshadow motion, Mr CEO, would be that the matter lies on the table. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I think the item be deferred to a councillor workshop. The only point of clarification, I guess, is did you want the applicant to be involved further before that comes back to the councillor workshop?
Yes, if that's feasible, that would be wonderful.
Did you want that included with the applicant, with a presentation from the applicant?
With the presentation from the applicant, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah. So the foreshadow motion, councillors, is that the item is brought back to council workshop with a presentation from the applicant. Happy with that, Mr CEO? Easy done. Thank you, Councillor Winner. You've indicated that's your foreshadowed. Councillor Winner moving that one. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Winner? Councillor Bodica, I've got you. Councillor Winner, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Much as I raised with the previous proposed motion, I feel that the Palace Theatre is such a significant part of our history that we do need to be looking at ways to ensure that the building, the facade and all the works involved with it are done to a level that ensures this wonderful community asset is a building that is usable into the future and remains a sustainable option for our young people and families in our community. I'd encourage my fellow councillors to support this foreshadowed motion and allow additional work to be done to ensure that the significant shortfall in the budget can be worked through and discussed a bit further, and other alternatives can also be explored with the applicants into how to ensure that the desired outcome is reached by all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Councillor Bodica.
Thank you. I also urge fellow councillors to support Councillor Winner's foreshadowed motion. I wouldn't like to see a knee-jerk reaction on this. I think that we need to sit down, talk with the proponents. Not only is it a historical building, but it's also used regularly by the public, and I think it's definitely in our best interest to look after that building and do what we can to see them successful in any sort of projects that they're doing financially.
Thank you, Councillor Bodica. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's interesting to note that this is listed on the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder's Local Government Heritage Inventory, so it is of significance to us. In fact, it is part of it has been moved across under custodian role, I believe, from the city into the Palace Rollers. And so it's pertinent that we actually support them. I also think that if they were granted a local heritage funding policy, that would be their funding, that would be it. So going an alternative way to gain this further amount, which is going to be closer to the mark or the mark of $40,000, is a great way. And going to the workshop is going to be, in involving them, a process that we look at in this regard. but it also then opens the opportunity to maybe even further discuss the heritage funding and how we can maybe put an extra tier into that, maybe a tier 3, which allows a greater funding applications to go through which are assessed. Yes, well, we'll be supporting Councillor Winner's foreshadow.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I am speaking for the motion, but is there a possibility to include in the motion that we further look into the procedures, the Heritage Fund policy at the meeting to assess whether the cost of buildings these days and the $5,000 limit is still on the right track?
I don't believe the discussion is probably centred around that for this matter. However, it's up to the mover to accept that or not.
Can I have some advice on the wording that's being proposed by Councillor Viskovich?
Sure, Mr CEO. I guess adding anything further to the foreshadowed motion regarding policy changes, considering that we've just passed another 2 items as the en bloc with the Local Heritage Fund tonight, and then making any changes to that without relevant process may have some impact. Would that be correct?
Yeah, through Mr Mayor. Certainly the issue around the policy review is something we can discuss. However, I think it will need to come back to Council as a separate report for further consideration. So rather than incorporating in the motion, it will be identified any issues we've got with the current policy, then we'll determine whether it needs to be reviewed or not, but not specifically on the night.
Yeah. It may make the procedure a lot longer than what it probably needs to be for the applicant. Does that help? No worries, thank you. So you've spoken for, Councillor Viskovich? Yep. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Brownlee.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just like to voice my support for Councillor Winner's foreshadowed motion. I would also like to take the opportunity to commend the officers on the work that they've already put into the foreshadowed motion. However, given the history of this building and folks like myself who has used that for many different reasons, including skating. God forbid I should ever try and do that again. But I would like to see just how we can support this item being brought back to a workshop with my fellow councillors and the city staff to see how we can look at ways in which we can support this application and, you know, for its preservation and its future utilisation by our future generations. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brownlee. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? Before the mover has the right of reply, Councillor is happy for this to come back for further presentation, but may I make the comment? Be careful with the policy. We have a policy that is in place. Any precedents that we change from that policy may have a major impact on many other buildings within our city. We're in the top 3 of the most history and heritage recognised buildings in our state. So it may have a detrimental effect if there is any adjustment from policy at this point in time. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to echo your comments as well, which were just made. I think it's important that when it is coming back to council at the workshop, we are considering all possible options and all other areas potentially where support may come from, not just within the heritage side of funding as well. I would also like to take the opportunity to congratulate officers. The officer recommendation is on point and directly in line with our policy, so there is no fault to be found at all. in regards to what is being recommended by our officers, and I do commend them for that. However, for myself, it's just important that we are looking at all possible avenues of how we can preserve buildings such as this to ensure the benefits that I'm sure many of us were lucky enough to have and experience utilising the Palace Theatre, particularly for skating and birthday parties and movies and everything else that occurred, and potentially for councils such as Councillor Brownlee to go back and relive those days. It'd be a wonderful opportunity to see us continue to invest in these significant facilities and making sure our young people have opportunities to participate in a lot of the activities that they would expect and participate in other communities as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. No dissent from this particular item, councillors? Councillor Winner, your foreshadow motion is carried unanimously 9-0. One is the Kalgoorlie Bowling Club Community Assistance Scheme funding. Do we have a mover for the officer recommendation? Councillor Winner moving that one. Just write down Mr. Winner. It's Councillor Winner. Seconder, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be supporting this motion tonight following the answers provided in response to the questions that I had asked last week during the agenda briefing. I did have concerns that by granting this funding, it could potentially hinder other projects and funding opportunities for the club. However, these concerns have been put to rest with future works timelines more clearly understood. I would ask fellow councillors to please support this motion to ensure our residents, particularly our seniors, are not having to play their bowls during the heat of the day during the summer months. I feel this would be a significant health and safety risk and feel that the request being made by the club is both fair and in the best interest of our community. I do hope my fellow councillors will support this unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Councillor Johnson.
With this item, it's really good to see that this club is proactive. It's an older club. It's a club that's been around quite a while and working towards getting more, if you like, use out of it. And also, they have taken the action of only looking at Green B, which is good. This will then allow at least one part to be utilised during the evenings, which is a great thing, especially coming into summer. I applaud the bowling club themselves for bringing this forward under the community funding or assistance scheme, and I think that we as a council need to support those in our community that have grown up here and have built this community, and by doing this is just one small step of doing that and supporting this club and also the people that use it. By the way, they're all young people there as well and not just old people, so it's a multi-user facility.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too support this one, and I'm all in favour of the community assistance funding. As Councillor Johnson said, many of our senior citizens are members of this, predominantly. I'm too young, I think, to become a member, but they need to have the nighttime bowls. I've seen the ladies' bowls across the road where St Mary's car park is and the Kalgoorlie Bowling Club, and when no lighting, and they're out in the sweltering heat, and they have the options. They can play during the day, but it is good they can play at night. And the Bush Telegraph is alive and well in the goldfields. I was told today, a reliable source, that the pole that fell on Green A has caused so much damage that it'll be several months before they'll even look at getting back on that. So they've only got one pitch to play on. And so I think, and I like the idea of us supporting various groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. And it's green and you're never too young to play bowls. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Bodica.
I support the motion too. I think it's really good that we support this service. The club, it's well utilised. It gives our elderly people and, sort of not so elderly, something to do. It's a good activity. So, yep, 100%.
Thank you, Councillor Bodica. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Before the mover has the right of reply. Wonderful addition to the Kalgoorlie Bowling Club and, of course, corporate bowls and other facets that they will also open themselves up to with the upgrade of those floodlights. Councillor Winner, you have the right of reply.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank my fellow councillors for the kind words of support around the table. I'm very proud to be part of a council who's been very active in how we've tried to support our community to both activate it and to encourage opportunities for all our residents to participate and feel included and develop their sense of belonging. Projects like this, I think, go a long way to contributing towards that, and I'd like to encourage my fellow councillors to continue to maintain that thought and look at ways that we can continue to add value and sustainability into our community to assist all members of our community to feel like they're a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. No dissent from that particular item, councillors? No, that has been carried unanimously 9-0. Item 16, questions of which due notice has been given. Councillor Turner has 2 questions. Councillor Turner, if you'd like to state those questions, please.
Yes, if you just give me 1 sec till okay. Can you all hear me? Yes, Councillor. Okay, so my first question is, has the city been actively engaged in an ongoing manner in trying to secure an eastern state direct airline route to be reinstated for Kalgoorlie-Boulder to either Melbourne or even Adelaide as a connection point? And my second question is, has the city been actively engaged in trying to have either the Saturday evening or Sunday morning flights between Perth and Kalgoorlie-Boulder reinstated?
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Probably didn't need to send the mic over your way just then. That was very loud and clear coming through. Mr CEO, do you have a response to Councillor Turner's questions?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I can provide a very brief response tonight. However, in answer to both questions, the answer would be yes. We'll need to provide some further information in terms of the actual information that has been provided and the lobbying and advocacy work being done by the city. But we'll provide that, and that'll be included in the minutes of the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr CEO, and thank you, Councillor Turner, for your questions. No further questions of which due notice has been given. There are no confidential items for tonight. The date of the next meeting will be in November. I believe it might be the 18th of November. Yes. That's correct, thank you. And I will close the meeting. Sorry, it's not on my run sheet. And I'll close the meeting at 7:46 p.m. Thank you for your attendance. So long and good evening.